What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Wednesday night live stream. Today we have on Kyle from Adaptive Reef. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good yourself?
Pretty good, thanks. It's been a while since we chatted, and I know you've been a crazy busy man for the last little while, as I see awesome
Yeah,
new
just a little
products
bit.
pumping out like crazy.
Yeah,
So how's things lately? What's new? What's going on?
it's good. Yeah, we just at Aqua Shella Chicago that just happened. We had our first skimmer in the CJ booth. We
I
used
saw
their
that.
I think it's called the SDC 1200 PSK. I don't know. There's a lot of acronyms in there, but it's a great pump. So we've been messing with that for probably the last 8 months or so, I think,
Yeah.
and we built a skimmer around that specific pump. And we really wanted to take the skimmer and try to do something different. I mean, we went through some radical like designs and some like crazy stuff, just like, oh, what if we did this and we made it and we're like, oh my god, this is horrible. This is absolutely oh my god, what did we do? So, we dialed it back. We're like, okay, we'll keep the standard body, but what can we do to improve, the adjustability of it? And then we also really tried and really wanted to try to improve the interaction. So when someone posts like, how their skimmer is set, or when someone's talking about how their skimmer is set, with a needle valve without a gauge, it's kind of hard. So we added a gauge to the air side of the silencer, so you can kind
Nice.
of tell to a degree what your skimmer is pulling, at least
Uh,
air volume wise.
I've seen that on calcium reactors before, but never on a skimmer. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and that's really there so people can try to have a better conversation of, hey, this is how my skimmer's set. How is your skimmer set? And at least then you kind of have like an idea. Like, oh, it's set exactly here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was one big thing. That was actually kind of a big pain to integrate, just to get it all done and make it still run silently. That was
Hmm.
actually a lot harder than we thought.
Yeah.
And then the next thing we designed is different size skimmer necks. So each one of our skimmers will actually have 3 necks.
Okay.
So let's
Nice.
say it starts at 6 inch. That 6 inch skimmer neck will have an insert that reduces it to 5 inch, and then it will have another insert that reduces it to 4 inch. So the theory is that the skimmer can grow and or shrink as your
Yeah.
bioload changes throughout, and it gives you another level of adjustability that's not there, especially with a DC pump.
Yeah.
So I get asked a lot of like, oh, what size gallon does your new skimmer fit? Well, we'll have a 6 inch body and an 8 inch body. And to
Hmm.
be honest with you, they can be tuned and fit between like a 50-gallon tank all the way up to like 300 gallons. It just matters how you
That's
tune
cool.
these things at this point.
So basically, one skimmer can just grow or shrink with you and saves you selling and buying new ones constantly. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. Because I don't know if most people have, but we've run into, and a lot of people that we talk to run into people that, want to run a really dry skimmate or really wet skimmate.
Yeah.
And even with a DC pump, without the ability to shrink or grow the neck, it's really hard depending on what the chemistry of your tank is, because every tank's different. So
Yeah.
skimming is actually quite difficult in the variety of tanks that people have. Like it's impossible to make one size fit all. It is. It won't ever work.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the idea behind that. And then, we stuck with what we liked. We liked PVC construction, so we stuck with that.
Hmm.
The C-Shape pump comes with a 5-year warranty, so okay, that sounds awesome. They'll stand behind
Yeah.
it. And we're working on our warranty. We want to do like 3 years plus. So you pretty much buy this thing and you don't really have to think about it. That's
Yeah.
kind of the goal.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen an adjustable neck, so that's pretty crazy. Like that's a total new way to do it, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think the original idea came from Ryan. I
Hmm.
was talking to him on the phone a lot, and I think he mentioned it to me. God, now like 2 years ago, a year ago, something crazy like that. And we were talking about it, and I ran through a few ideas and stuff like that, and then it just kind of like, okay, well, let's just actually make it. We came
Hmm.
up with like crazy adjustable things, but everything was complex that it's gonna break. It's like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want to sell something that I'm gonna break or someone's gonna break, within 6 months of owning this thing. So let's try to keep it simple, clean, easy, and robust. That was kind of the
Yeah.
goal of it all.
Well, it looks very clean, which when I heard Ryan talking about the adjustable, I pictured all kinds of weird things, and that's definitely a much cleaner look than I had envisioned in my head.
Yeah.
So it turned out pretty
No, we
good.
did a bunch of weird stuff. Trust me. We made a bunch of like strange contraptions. We're like, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that, and all of them were like, man, A, that just looks really weird. No one's gonna buy that.
Frankenstein.
And two, that's gonna break in like, like 5 days. That's 100%. After you run a skimmer for like 3 months, it's gross.
Yeah.
The stuff's growing on it. It's just a
funky.
gross object. It just is. So you really have to look at a skimmer and be like, okay, it may look really pretty going into a system, but what is it going to look like in 8 months when no one cleans it, because most people don't clean their skimmers? It's like, okay, let's stick it in a big vat and let them run for like 9 months and not touch it and see what like breaks and how it works. So we did that. Nice. And we just decided, okay, nice and simple. We originally had like, plastic thumb screws, but they started breaking. So we went back to titanium with like an Allen key. But then we were frustrated because who wants to go find an Allen key to take apart their skimmer? So then we went and bought 1 million Allen keys, and we're going to supply the tool to fit every screw on the skimmer. So the skimmer actually comes with the Allen key tool to fit all the screws needed to come off the skimmer. You know what I mean? You can take the whole thing apart with one
same
tool.
Screw throughout?
Yeah, the same exact screws throughout.
I appreciate these things.
It's simple things like that seem so easy, but they're actually very complicated. And without actually running a skimmer, like personally, or doing it, you just don't know. It's just like the fittings too. All the fittings are the John Guest fittings.
Yeah.
So they're standardized. So if you personally want to hook stuff up to it, you want to mod it, there's no like weird sizes or anything like that. You can just go nuts and buy whatever you want and start clicking stuff to it.
That's awesome. Makes life so much easier.
Yeah, it really does.
Love it.
When you actually run these things, it does. And I like modifications. I build custom stuff a lot. It's like, well, if I'm going to make a skimmer, I'm going to make it so, people can modify it and I can modify it easily. People want custom skimmers out of me. And it's like, man, if I make it too complicated, even I won't want to modify it, even with owning the company that makes it. No, thank you.
No, 100%. Okay, matching screws or Allen keys, whatever. One tool, not having to find multiples is like a big thing.
I know.
I don't know if it's Vertex or one of the brands.
Yeah. Clean your skimmer and you're like, oh God, I got to find like my rusty tool that, out of my pack in the garage. Now that pack is ruined again. So it's like, how about we just supply the tool with the skimmer? So it may get rusty over time, but it came with the skimmer and it fits with the skimmer. So you don't ruining all your tools in your garage. So I'm sick of ruining every one of my tools. It's covered in rust. I don't. It's like, okay, this is gonna be my good wire strippers. I promise. For now. Thing. And like 3 months later, they won't even open because they're all rusty. It's like, oh man, I did it again. It's like, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I've been there, and I tried cleaning them actually one time in citric acid. And they look lovely after, but then they just never work the same.
Yeah, no, they never do.
Yeah,
it's simple things like that we tried to tackle with the skimmer, and then again using like all PVC and stuff like that, just so we know. It's heavy, it will last, it looks nice, feels nice, all that stuff, all that simple, easy stuff we tried to cover.
No, that's pretty awesome. Is it going to be built with recirculating port for CO2 media input? Question from the chat.
Yes, we are so right now we are beta testing, which probably is more like alpha testing because we're always behind. We're always weeks behind where I want to be, but yes, the idea is that this skimmer is manufactured like legitimately 30 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. Like we are making it. Yes, we're importing parts from overseas. That's just the way the world works. But like 85-90% of this, we're CNCing, we're making, we have the files. So the idea is that the accessory market for the skimmer or changes that people want can actually happen quickly. Yeah. Because we don't need to order a container, of 300, 400 skimmers and then sell all those and be like, oh, okay, we'll change it next one. It's like, well, we'll do these in 100, 150 unit batches. Yep. And as we get feedback and as people say, hey, what if you guys did this? We can just add it. And either retailers will pick up the parts or we'll just sell them direct. I mean, we're local. I mean, we're in Canada, but with our shipping contracts and stuff like that, we can ship direct to the United States, no problem, like
Easy.
overnight. It's not a big deal at all. So the short answer is yes. The idea is there. The parts are there. We have it in the computer. We've tested it. There's a few more hurdles to get to that, but yes.
It's close.
It's close. It's
and then you'll just walk over and slap
the end of this year is the goal.
Yeah.
The main issue is the valves to control it and the software behind that. So one thing adaptive that I don't want to do, which means adaptive isn't going to do, is I won't make LED lights. I don't think ever, like for reef or anything like that. I'm just not interested. And to be 100% honest with you, I am not interested at all in making a controller. I just no thank you.
There's enough out there.
Yeah, and I've seen people go down that path and explode. So yeah, no, I'm good. So I'm gonna stick with what I like and what I know. Yeah. And that's, plastic work and building stuff and customizing stuff and doing that. I'm not a software engineer. So the back end of what controls the CO2 is where, we would find a partner, or where we're working to try to work it in to existing technology and existing work, right?
Yep. No, that's fair.
Yeah.
John Reefer Vermont, tonight's tuition. Thank you so much for the super chat. And earlier, Battle OCR. Tell Kyle can't wait for my controller board enclosure he made.
Yeah, we do. We still do custom work. The custom work is slowly ramping down right now just because of the work schedule we have. I believe we're working 2 shifts now. And it's just non-stop because I was just telling you too, as of like 2 days ago, we just launched in Europe, and that would consist of probably like 8 to 12 countries. We're in Australia now. We're all over the United States, and we're expanding in Canada like crazy as well. So it's just
awesome.
There's a lot. And then we still, I want to keep up quality control and all this other stuff. And I want to make sure that the customer service is there and all that stuff. So you just have to, it's kind of crazy. It's a little bit crazy.
And I also heard rumors you're expanding to a bigger place, which I already thought the place you're in now is huge. So
yeah, we are more than doubling in size right now. We're running into issues just because of what's going on in the world, but overall, yeah, we're doubling in size, and then when that happens, that's going to be awesome. That will we can actually breathe, because right now it's just our production lines are just packed just because of the amount of products that I wanted to release and do, and going from 0 products to like over 50 in like 9 months is like, oh my god. And we're supplying bulk reef supply, saltwateraquarium.com and stuff like that, so we're not supplying one local fish store. We're supplying the big guys in the industry.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's interesting.
You make cool stuff. I don't know. I love all the stuff that you make. Like, I have 2 of your controller boards, and they look wicked on my tanks. So
yeah, we want to actually. We're in the near term. We really are going to start working with a lot of I would say influencers, but anybody that has a channel or Instagram or anything like that. We really want to push them. We really want to support all that, because so much information, knowledge, all that stuff is passed through that, and we really want to be a part of that the best we can.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what other cool stuff you got in the works? I know you're always playing with experimenting.
I got 2 things here. This is the Inline probe holder.
Nice.
Right,
that's pretty sweet.
We sell, I think it's on saltwateraquarium.com, reefsupplies.ca, and bulk reef supply and stuff like that. So this is a really neat product. This holds probes and all that. Yeah. Almost every standard probe other than the Apex temperature probe, but we're working on an adapter for that. So this one's really cool. This actually took us the longest to make out of anything we've ever made. Yeah.
Huh.
Because
why so long?
It's inline, so it has to take pressure, and this glue joint between this piece of PVC and this piece is such a pain. And if you look at it, almost every piece on this, minus this valve and this, is custom.
Yeah.
So this all has to be threaded on. So this, this is just starts as a normal PVC pipe that has to be threaded.
Yeah.
And then this piece has to be actually made, like we make this piece, it didn't exist. And then we had to make this piece that didn't exist. And then these pieces didn't exist. And then we had to, you know what I mean?
So you're
like
CNCing like every part for it.
When I was like, hey, let's make this, my guys were like, oh, okay. We made a few and we're like, oh my God, like there's no like off the shelf parts that work for this. Like legitimately there isn't. And, you know, we didn't want to use acrylic tube because gluing acrylic to PVC can be troublesome. So we wanted to keep everything PVC and stuff like that.
Yep.
So this one was actually a real pain to make. But that's going. And then very soon, BRS, we've already shipped it, so they have it. BRS will have these.
Ah, nice.
So these are Neptune. We have Ecotech.
Yeah.
Ecotech Marine, and we have BRS TV.
Yeah.
We have non-lit versions, and then this one is actually RGB lit.
Nice.
So these will fit on the controller cabinets.
Yeah.
All the controller boards, they will fit by themselves. They come in white and black, and they fit on custom controller boards made just for BRS that fit specific Ecotech gear and specific Neptune gear. And then they come with a really cool light-up logo.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. So you can pimp out your stand even more.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
So those will be out hopefully in the next, I don't know, BRS has them, so maybe a month or so. It takes a while to launch a product. It always does. So hopefully in the next like month or so, they're listed and people can buy them and stuff like that.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. Hey, I love my ReefDudes one. It looks great lit up on there.
Well, it took us, how long? I mean, it took us a long time to do logos. It's like this. Yeah. Like this seems simple, but this actually took like forever because, you know, it has to actually work and work for longer than like 3 months.
Yeah.
So all the LEDs have to be custom made for us, but then, you know, I'm not going to sell an LED product that's not UL'd. So the LEDs in this and the driver are actually UL stamped. Nice. So that's the first thing. The next thing is that all of this isn't like a sticker. This is all CNC'd through like a thin layer. It's 3 layers of material, and there's more stuff inside to make the light actually more, you know, flat and plain, so you don't get so many of the hot spots.
Nice.
And then this is solid PVC, but then we actually have to hog it all out. So this thing is hogged out, so it's like a hollow, like, you know, shell and whatnot.
Yeah.
So even just, you know, you'd think this would be simple and like, oh yeah, this would be all cool. I mean, my original idea is like, oh, we'll just do logos. That sounds great. And then, you know, 6 months later, you're like, oh my God, there's like, I think like 47 steps to make this thing and 5 materials and 2 different tapes and, you know, 3 different LED suppliers. It's like, wow, okay. Well, now we're cooking, I guess. Jeez.
I don't think people realize how much actually goes into creating something, especially when you're trying to make it, you know, high quality and to last, right?
No one has any clue. I'll fly you out, or you'll have to come out for sure, and you can hang out in our facility for a couple of days and see what like my guys are doing. Like,
that'd be awesome.
We legitimately, like, there isn't some magical machine spitting this out. We are sitting there making it. Like I have over 20 people, like, physically building this stuff by hand. We're using routers. Yes, we have CNCs. Yes, we have, you know, massive printers and stuff like that. But like this thing is hand glued. There's no machine that would do this. And then we have to test it. And then we have to test it again. And then we got to test it a 3rd time. And then, you know, one guy has to put it in a box and make sure it's all clean. And then another guy just wants to put the instructions in it. I mean, it's just, it's insane. And originally, I'm not from that world. I still own a sign and display shop, right?
Yep.
And then moving from that to actually product manufacturing in this industry, it was like, wow, I can see why. I can see why that skimmer is like $1,000. Like legitimately, like, oh my God. Like I couldn't even think about some of the things like some of the things I look at. It's like, man, how do they make it for that? Like, like it would cost me more to buy the stuff to make it. Like
that's crazy with some of it.
More. Like what's going on?
That's the crazy thing with mass manufacturing. When you look at it, you're like, the parts, like half of the parts cost more than just buying it pre-done sometimes. You're like, what the? It's crazy. So, okay.
We have to buy, so for the, like, just for example, like the PVC we buy, so we're now the largest PVC buyer pretty much in all of Canada. And we have to buy so much we have to buy like 300 to 600 sheets at a time, like within like a month, to keep the cost low enough to actually manufacture things quick enough and easy enough so people can buy it, and so our products aren't $500 or $600 or everything literally would be like 4 times the cost.
Yeah, you need that scale.
Sometimes it's hard to be like, oh my God, you know, if I buy all this, is someone going to buy it? I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. So now that question came up a little while ago, actually, but how did you get from doing just signs to building all this like awesome reefing gear?
So there's a store up here called Big Al's Aquarium.
Yeah.
I walked into Big Al's 10 years ago now, probably. Yeah, it's probably been 10 years to buy a 29-gallon BioCube. In 10 years ago, you know, the skimmers were a lot simpler and stuff like that. So it was all just solid acrylic bodies, and, you know, there was overflow boxes that were simpler. It was all this acrylic stuff. I walked in and out of there a million times, bought my BioCube, and like a year after having it, I was looking in the store. I was like, wait a second, I own like a few CNCs. Like I have tons of acrylic at the shop. I stock like 1,000 sheets of acrylic. It's like, wait a second,
I can make that.
Legitimately, I have like 1,000 sheets of acrylic. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna build a tank. So then I started calling around and be like, you know, how hard is it to build a tank? No one would tell me. No one would tell me anything. Like, how do you like we glued acrylic all the time. I just, you know, I never glue a tank together. So I thought, oh, it's like some magical, like special recipe, or I don't know. Like I make signs and displays. And no one would tell me anything. So I was like, you know what? Forget this. I'm just going to do it. So I decided to build a 16-foot long, like 48-inch wide, by like 20-inch tall tank. I'm like, why not? Like, I don't see the problem. Like, I'll just glue it up and fill it with water.
This is your first acrylic tank ever?
We weld in-house. We do all this. So I just, you know, I built some crazy steel tube stand that could probably support, you know, 7 houses, and I just glued up this tank within like a week, and I trimmed her out of it, and I jammed it in my basement and filled it with water, and I was like, well, that's pretty easy. And then like just looking, I was like, well, I got to filter it and stuff like that. It's like, well, I built this, I'll just start building all the filter stuff. And it's like, oh, well, I can build a sump, I can build this, oh, I can build a reactor. And then at the time, Vertex, the owner of Vertex, reached out to me and said, hey man, you know, do you want to build like a really high-end, like crazy system, you know, that, you know, no one's ever seen? I was like, yeah, sure. Just, you know, send me some stuff. So, I mean, Vertex sent me like a skid, like
of everything,
like, pretty much like one of everything that they made at the time. And that's when I made that Vertex tank. And it kind of blew up everywhere. Like it went like total viral. Like it was trending on Reddit, you know, in like the top 10 posts, like for like a whole, like, you know, 8 hours, which is hard to do on the internet. And then it was getting like 20,000 hits every like 10 minutes. I went to like my Reef to Reef build thread, and at the time it showed how many people were like looking at it. And there was like 2,800 people like looking at my thread. I was like, okay, there's something, I could do this. Like there's something here, like let's make stuff. And I flew to New York and pretty much, you know, met the people at Marine Depot at the time. I met Ryan from Bulk Reef Supply, and, you know, I met the guys from Coral View, and I just straight up told them, I said, I'm here to stay. I said, I don't care. I'm just going to keep making stuff until you sell my stuff. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like this, I'm excited.
One way or another.
Yeah, I'm making stuff. So Marine Depot was cool, and they jumped on board. They're like, hey, you know, let's do this control board thing. I was like, absolutely, let's do it. And then, you know, BRS was like, I don't know. Because I didn't know Ryan that well at that time. Now he's pretty much a good friend of mine. But at the time, he's like, I don't know. I was dealing with all, like, you know, all the people, and the company's massive. And I'm like, I don't know. You know, I forget this. I just started sending them skids of stuff.
I know, I've never seen that.
I was like, you're gonna sell my stuff, whether you buy it or not. Just, you know, list it for free on your site. I don't care. So I was literally sending them like 48-inch by 48 8-inch by like 60-inch just piled full of my fog. Like, you're selling it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And then like Ryan called me, he's like, fine, just pretty much like, leave me alone. We'll sell your stuff. And then I don't know, it just kind of all snowballed to there. And now I deal with, you know, we just developed the Neptune Sky mounting system.
The mounting system? Yeah.
Yeah. That they showed that they launched it with, so that will be launching soon. So we did that. Terrence had a great idea for, you know, some light mount. So we were on the phone a lot. I was on the phone a lot with them, talking back and forth. And Terrence really wanted this thing. It was a great idea. It's like, yeah, let's make that. So we made it. And I deal with Ecotech directly now on a bunch of things, and BRS
Nice.
and saltwateraquarium.com. So it's just like everybody now, just literally, I don't know.
One way or another, I'm getting in this industry. Hey,
Yeah,
dedication's
just,
paying off.
I don't know what happened. It just happened. And I wanted to make stuff, and I was lucky enough to have, you know, the facility already there, established enough that I could do ridiculous things. Like I don't care. Like, you know, if you're gonna sell my stuff, and I'll just, you know, give it to you for free until you sell it. Like
you already had laser cutters, CNCs.
Yeah.
You already had like the ultimate like play shop to create things.
We have 5 CNCs, we have 2 lasers, we have a water jet, we have a 3D printer that's as big as a room. We already have all the stuff. And then, you know, on top of that, we already have the relationships with other companies that have more CNCs and more, you know, things to do. So, you know, the scalability, we were able to go from making 0 products in the industry to, I think, with OEM work, and because we OEM a lot of stuff now too, and our products, we produce 106 products now that are sold on the largest sites in the world, including Europe, you know, Australia, and you know, the United States and Canada too.
That's awesome. That's super cool. Now, now I know you had a big sign business before this. So how does like the reefing side of it compare to like the sign side of it?
Oh, the reefing side's tiny.
Yeah.
So like my sign and display, like, so we do like auto shows. Like we work, you know, we do like Alfa Romeo, Mercedes, Dodge Ram.
Yeah.
We do the largest brands in Canada. So we do like HomeSense. We do chains of stores with 1,000 locations. We do big stuff. We're not like, usually sign shops do, like, you know, when you go to like a strip mall, you see the outside signs. Well, we don't do any of that. We do large rollout. We do Walmart and stuff like that. Yeah. And then we also do a lot of wayfinding work. So we do most of pretty much every hospital in Toronto we've touched or work on. And then, you know, we do stuff like that. So
that's cool.
The aquarium side, I'm lucky enough that it's not that big. So I'm able to have a lot of fun because, you know, let's say I make a product like a skimmer and it totally tanks. Well, okay. Well, that was worth a try. Let's, you know, what's next? You know what I mean? So I'm in a unique position that way, that, you know, most things I can just have fun with and try. Like, you know, let's try that. I mean, I don't know. Seems like a good idea. Are people going to buy it? I don't know. Like, who knows?
Build it, and they will hopefully come. It's a good way to do it.
That's kind of how it happened. I just kept making stuff, and my team just kept making stuff. You know, if you have a good idea, Harry came out. Harry's Aquatics. He came out with those switch boxes, and you know, me and him started talking. I was like, hey, you know what? Why don't I just make them on like scale? Yeah. And we'll see how it goes. And now we have a line of, you know, aquarium products, or, you know, products that work with controllers, which hopefully we can expand upon soon once I get caught up, if I ever do.
That's pretty awesome. It's cool that you have the room to play for it. So, I mean, the sign shop's the main one. The reefing stuff's like the fun side of it, where you can be more creative.
The sign and display industry is all on tenders and stuff like that. So you're competing against, you know, big, huge things. And we quote on big government contracts and stuff like that. It's not fun. I wear a suit and, you know, not have fun at all. I don't get to sponsor YouTubers. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't get to build a floating gaming PC tank. You know, I don't get to do that in the display industry. But in the, you know, in the fish industry, I do. And then, you know, this fish industry stuff that I'm doing, especially in the saltwater, has opened doors to other industries, like, you know, reptiles and freshwater and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's almost too much.
That is awesome. So the floating-ish tank is still going strong? The one on the thumbnail from your office, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so that was just, you know, with Bethesda. It was a Bethesda theme tank, and, you know, at the time I was really into Fallout 4, playing that nonstop. So I just came up with that idea. It's like, okay, well, you know, it'd be cool to build a tank without, you know, the front legs. That's actually not that hard. That's just a bunch of math and, you know, figuring out. But just it's structural steel, so weight-wise, it's nothing. It's actually not that big of a deal. But no one's ever really done it, so, you know, I'll do it. Then why not?
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'll build a cool sump. You know, I'll make because at the time when I was building that tank, we knew we were making a skimmer. So the skimmer that's in it was my skimmer. It's like, oh, we'll make it like a Nuka-Cola bottle. That sounds cool. We'll light it up. That's cool. And then I was like, yo, what if we put like, you know, like a water-cooled computer in it? And everybody's like, no, that's ridiculous. I'm like, no, you're not seeing it. Like, you don't see it. I'm like, I'm gonna make the water cooling loop go through the sump and like behind the system, and it's gonna be blue. And then all the LEDs are going to be controlled by the IQ software from that one of the gaming companies out there.
Yeah, Corsair.
I forget what they're called. So like all the LEDs are controlled with like the computer LEDs. So like the RAM and motherboard light up the same as the tank, and it's going to be awesome. Yeah. And like people were like, no, that's not going to work. I started building it, and then, you know, I had to invent like a new way to do water blocks, because in the PC world, a lot of people build water blocks where they get one piece of acrylic, they hog it all out, and then put you know, an O-ring around it, and then pinch another piece. Yep. Well, that doesn't work for what I want to do because I have no tolerance. So then, you know, I started hogging out and started making all my own square pipes out of acrylic, and started gluing it all just like you would a aquarium. So I can make like almost anything into a water block. Yeah. I had to find all the taps and all that stuff, and actually just worked. It's like, oh wow, this kind of cool.
That's pretty sweet.
So it goes all the way through the sump. This water loop goes all the way through the sump, in the back of the sump, in the bottom of the sump, around the skimmer, and then it goes back to the PC. And then whenever my 3090 shows up, because, you know, they're, you know, a hot commodity for the last year, it's all pre-done to put that graphics card in the loop. So it'd actually be a fully water-cooled PC built into the bottom of this aquarium.
So are you gonna wire? Right? Are you gonna like wire up your desk to your tank, or how are you gonna?
Yeah. So I have the Emperor gaming chair, which is some crazy company out of Montreal, makes these like robotic chairs. Which, surprising enough, because of all this, they've now reached out to me, and I will be doing some work with Emperor gaming chairs very soon. So stay tuned if you're into Emperor gaming chairs. So I'll be working with that company soon.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it connects through, you know, DisplayPort to the chair, so 3 monitors, and then it runs the new Vive from Steam, the Index, I believe it's called. Yeah. So I have a full Index setup on it and stuff like that, so I can like virtual reality off my fish tank, because, you know, why not?
Because you can.
Yeah, and then, you know, awesome. Through that too. So Emperor Gaming Chairs reached out to me, so I'll be doing a bunch of custom work for them, hopefully very soon. Yeah. And then a company called EK Water Blocks reached out to me, and we've been talking back and forth. So we'll end up working together. So they make all like the water cool systems for computers. So I'll be making some really cool stuff for the computer industry soon, hopefully.
Oh, that's wicked.
Yeah.
11 should make. I actually ended up buying a bunch of EK stuff from overseas for my editing computer when I upgraded it. So.
Yeah. No, their stuff is amazing. So how that was, I just messaged them. Like, hey, look at what I made. You guys like it? And then, like, you know, the guy goes like, oh my God, what is that? I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? That we started talking like that. So we'll end up doing a build together or something like that.
That's
so I got
wicked.
a few crazy builds in the works right now. One's going to be for Thomas for the BRS TV. Yeah. It's his personal build. I wanted to build it for him since he was working for Big Al's. And then the other one I'm going to do with EK Water Blocks, which should be really, really cool.
Oh, nice. That'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely send me pictures of those. It'll be cool.
Yeah.
So there you go, man. Build something crazy. Throw an
Yeah.
aquarium and a computer together, and you get yourself into two different industries once.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's weird how things happen. It's just, I don't know. It's, why not? You know, I don't take, you know, that can't be done or that's impossible or, you know, why would you ever do that to really anything? I'm just going to do it, whether, you know, people think it's ridiculous or not, because why not? Like,
Because
you
it's
know, I
awesome.
want a computer in my aquarium. I don't really know why. There's no real logical reason why you would do that. I mean, you're mixing like salt water with electronics. So I had to do like negative air pressure and all this other stuff to actually make it all work. But I don't know. I like it. Seems cool.
Yeah.
Gets a lot of clicks on, you know, the interweb. So why not?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Quick shout out to Bob. Thank you, belated, for the super chat. Okay, so Kyle, what else do you have? Is there any other crazy projects in the works right now?
Yeah. So we have brought in a company called RLSS, which
Mm-hmm.
was a skimmer manufacturer that was they're based in China, but they're out of Canada as well. So we've brought them under our umbrella, and we've
Nice.
used them to help secure our supply of skimmer bodies,
Yep.
especially with everything again going on in the world. That was something we had to do. So we kind of brought them under our umbrella, and then we also brought in Waveline, which was
Okay.
a pump
Nice.
company, Canadian based. I believe they kind of disappeared off the map 2, 3 years ago, probably longer than that, probably 4 years
Oh,
ago.
I've bought one of their pumps way
Yeah,
back in the day because it was the smallest DC pump I could find for a
yeah.
calcium
So
reactor. Yeah.
we've brought that company under our umbrella, and we are going to. The plan right now is to re-release their pump line. We're redoing the controller right now, you know, so that we're happy with it, we like it, and then we can also throw the support that, you know, Adaptive can throw behind it, which means, you know, a nice warranty,
Yep.
no hassle returns. You know, if it shows up broken, you know, it's our fault. You know, I'm big on that.
Mm-hmm.
We get, you know, we quality control like crazy, but we still run into it. And if someone emails us and it's like, hey, on this switch box, this switch doesn't work. Okay, that's totally us. I mean, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
like troubleshoot it with you, and my guys aren't gonna troubleshoot it with you. I've told them, said, there's no point wasting people's time. Just
Mm-hmm.
A, you know, give them a new one, and then B, give them something free or a refund, because I know how frustrating it is to get like something on like a Friday. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
Saturday I'm gonna build out my reef. Oh, it's gonna
Doesn't
be the
work.
greatest day ever. And then like it doesn't work, and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, this company I hate. You know, I hope it burns. Blah blah. I know the feeling. So we tried our best to try to, you know, not make that big of
Mm-hmm.
a deal or try to fix that. So we want to do that with Waveline.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, we're working on a bunch of other things that we can't say because
Aye.
we work with a lot of brands at the moment.
That's awesome, man. So you're expanding it like crazy, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, really fast. 0 to 100, really, really fast. Faster than I've ever gone in any business venture or any company that I've tried. And then, I mean, again, just as of like yesterday, we launched pretty much in Europe. So now we have all the European market to deal with and to make sure, and that's a whole other animal. And there's a lot. It's
Yeah,
fun though.
no, definitely. So cool. And dude, that's like customer service. Why Greg said it. So many companies should learn customer service from Kyle. 100%. Like that honestly makes the biggest difference with like a product, right?
Yeah.
That, you know, where
Yeah,
you're just fighting and you're mad versus like, oh,
yeah.
they're amazing. I'm
I
gonna
mean,
buy from them again.
in general, I am you know, I'm in the hobby. Like I
Hmm.
legitimately am. Like I run tanks. I love building systems.
Yep.
We work with really cool companies out of California and stuff. I'm always building systems. So I know, like me personally, how frustrating it can be. I know there's reasoning. Sometimes it just is what it is. Like, sorry, our bad. You know, we can't fix everything. We can't give everybody refund. You know, there has to be some due diligence and stuff like that. But I personally know how frustrating it can be because it's happened to me.
Oh
With
yeah.
props. Like, oh my god, like I just like 5 hours of messing with this stupid thing that cost me $300, and the company's not getting back to me, and that's it. It's like, oh geez, I was like, I don't want to. No, I'm not. Just
Not
not
worth it.
interested.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, so that's awesome. And that honestly goes a long way. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see all the new stuff you come out with. Like the probe holder is pretty cool. I haven't tried those ones yet, but it's a good idea because it keeps all the bubbles, everything out of it, which will give you more accurate readings. So that's pretty sweet. Got the valve, so if you got to maintain it, you can just turn it off and you don't have to worry about it filling. So that's cool. Controller board I have, which is awesome. Skimmer looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
What else? What else do you got out in the wild so far? I know you're working on something you can't say. But,
No, we have a full line of products that plug into the Apex. So switch box, audible alarms, light up alarms. Those are really handy if you actually program the Apex and stuff like that. I liked them. And again, the switch boxes are from Harry Aquatics. I mean, he came up with the idea, and we still work with him on it. So that, that's a great one. And then I wanted an audible alarm. And then at the same time, there was a red and green LED light. And I was talking to Terrence a little bit, and it seemed like, okay, well, that sounds like a cool idea. So we'll try that as well. Yeah. And then hopefully we can expand that line into, GHL and the new Coral View controller. Absolutely. Yep. I mean, that's the goal. Nice. We did a plumbing line. So with the plumbing line, the kind of
the adapters.
Right, yeah. So the star of the show was the Inline probe holder. That was kind of like the cool product. The lame, dumb product, but it's super needed, is we took adapters, with the European sizes and the sizes that everybody seems to use, and milled out the other side to US sizes. Yeah.
Do you know, when I was putting my water box together and changing my stuff and everything, how much of a bugger it was to find those adapters? Like, where were you a year and a half ago?
that all came from me building out a tank. And I was building out this tank, and I was at Home Depot just like staring at the wall of plumbing. And my wife was like, yeah, why are we always here staring at plumbing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nothing would work. Like, we got to go to like Lowe's. So I went to like Lowe's, spent like an hour there, but like, oh my God, like
nothing works.
Why does this not exist? Like, they have like these one adapters that they already sell to metric to US standard, but they go like on like the inside, and they're strange. I'm like, why is there just not like a standard cup length or a standard union where one side is metric and one side standard? Like, why does that not exist? So I started looking around. I'm like, oh my God, like, they legitimately don't make this. So I just started ordering in plumbing, and I made this crazy jig for our CNC, and we'd mill out one of the sides to either, metric or standard, and then we started lifting them all. It's like, well, that kind of makes sense. That was a frustration product, because I couldn't believe it either. I spent like 5 hours at Lowe's, Home Depot, and then we have a place up here called Rona. This is pretty much like cheap Lowe's. Just staring at the plumbing line. My daughter's getting all mad because we're sitting at Lowe's for 3 hours. I'm like, how can there be this much plumbing stuff and just none of it work? Like, this is ridiculous.
I spent hours searching the internet trying to find stupid adapters to make it all work when I was converting my water box to do like standard plumbing.
Do like, they do like some crazy conversion thing with like an O-ring and stuff like that. It's like, man, we'll just make this. So then that's where the plumbing line originally came from. And then we're like, okay, so, what's a cool product? Then we came up with this thing. It's like, this is kind of like the showboat of the plumbing line. And then we also were looking at pre-built manifolds. So when you build a manifold, you got to order 2 valves, 2 T's, like either 2 unions or 2 connectors. And man, if you glue those wrong, that's all those plumbing parts go in the trash. So it's like, most people aren't plumbers, and they don't have the proper tools to do it. The glue reeks out your house all the time. It absolutely does. And, people want to deal with it. So why don't we pre-make the manifold, like straight up? We'll pre-make it and sell it as a complete unit. And then you have, on and off
plug and play
each end. Done. Right?
That's awesome.
So we did that as well.
Love it. Love it. See, these are, people don't consider the plumbing things. When you're actually doing it, these are like lifesavers.
Yeah.
Like, I wish you came up with this.
You like, just sit there and look at your tank, but like, I can't do anything until this plumbing's done, and there's legitimately no filter, there's no like union or anything I can buy, and the only one I can buy is some like obscure website from like Nunavut or somewhere where you have to like order it in, and it'll be in like 3 weeks maybe, like
And it's
maybe
like
who
$80 for
knows?
this one stupid little part that should cost $10. And you're like, ah,
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
$50 to ship it, and it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Yep.
That was the frustration that invented the plumbing line, and then I wanted something more than just adapters and fittings, so that's where the probe holder kind of came
Yep.
along. He was like, well, that seems like a really cool idea. Let's make that too. And then the manifold just kind of split off that. It's like, man, everybody's like, everybody wants a manifold, but you legitimately have to glue all this stuff together. And the valves are like $30 to $40 each. And if you mess it up, like it's complete garbage. Like you can waste, $150 in one night because you glued, you forgot to put this ring on before you glued the pipe. There, $150 mistake right there. And people are just sitting there looking at it and be like, oh my God, what did I just do? Is there any way to fix this? Because I've been there. I've done it. I've like looked at it, like, oh my God, are you serious? Like I'm sweating. Yeah, there's just PVC shavings everywhere. The house smells like PVC glue. It's like, oh my God! Like
the wife give me hex every time I glue stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of where the plumbing line all came from. To be honest with you.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey,
yeah.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's driving you nuts is what you end up fixing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty awesome, man. I love it. So tons of kind of cool stuff in the works. Love what you've done so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have any other crazy tank builds coming up? Those are always fun to watch too.
Yeah, so I'm working with Thomas right now. He's the BRS TV guy, Thomas Tanks or whatever he goes by now. So I've known him again since his way pre BRS TV days. Yeah, like I'm Canadian, you're Canadian, he's Canadian, so it's a small knit community of Canadians up here. So I've known him for a long time. Me and him are working on originally it was going to be for Big Al's, but now it's his own is a Pokemon build.
Oh, nice.
So
that'll be sweet.
We're going to theme it in the Pokemon theme, and it's going to be 2 tanks side by side, and it's going to look like 2 Pokemon battling in between the 2 systems.
Oh, crazy.
And I think one of them is a saltwater tank, and one of them is going to be a vivarium or some crazy like planted thing that he wants to do. So that's kind of the rough idea right now. So we're doing that. And then
that's crazy.
After
I like
that, I am building, most likely, there's a new game called Diablo 2 Resurrected that's coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, with EK Water Blocks, I'll be building a themed water box tank around all that, which should be cool.
That's sweet. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I like
it'll be like a Diablo 2 Resurrected and Diablo 4 mix, right? Because I personally played Diablo 2 when I was in high school, so that's
nice.
I'm building that type of deal.
That'll be pretty sweet. I'm excited to see it as it comes to life.
So
awesome.
those are the new next crazy builds, and then I work now with a few companies out of California, one particularly which is Infinity Aquariums, and they do like high end stuff, and the stuff like Tanked, they do NBA players, all the famous people stuff. So we've already started working on a few high-end, famous people tanks. So my stuff's starting to show up on there. Nice. So that I'm doing a lot of that stuff now, just because, people ask for crazy things, and I'm dumb enough.
You like building crazy things.
Yeah. Yeah, people, you want like a gold inlaid fish. Okay, solid aluminum. With a titanium backer that, lights up some crazy stuff with laser beams. Yeah, I'll make that. I mean, why not? I mean, that sounds cool
fun.
Enough, you know what I mean?
Right? It's cool, though, because you're like, how the heck am I going to do this? You're like, whatever, I'll figure it out. Find a way.
Well, that's the fun part of it, right? In my other industry, I don't get to do that. I get boring, like, CAD drawings and, everything's to spec no matter
No creativity.
What. I mean, even if you get, like, the shade of color wrong, job's garbage, you're dealing with all this branding and I'm going through like 10 people that have to look at stuff. It's like, man, I don't want to do that. So this industry, I get to have a lot of fun, especially with the custom stuff. Yeah. People come to me and ask for like the craziest, like, oh, I want like this thing to move. Like I can't, out of all the custom stuff I do, I post probably 10% of it. 90% of it I can't, because either I sign NDAs or the people that I work for a lot of the time are very private people, and they don't they're not flat. They're flashy at home, obviously, because of what I make.
Yeah.
But they're not flashy in public, so I'm not allowed to post it and stuff like that.
Ah, dang.
But we've sent stuff to like Dubai, Japan, and all over, like, you know, carbon fiber craziness. Anything that we can CNC and put together, we'll pretty much make.
That's sweet. Ah, I love it. So cool. Now I'm so curious about this other 90% of the cool stuff I'm missing out on now.
Yeah. Well, that's why you should come down to the shop.
I'll come visit one day.
See. Yeah, you and Thomas at some point will be flying down. Hopefully after we move, so it's just not such a mess. Because right now it's just an absolute.
We'll plan it out and have a little rendezvous. It'd be fun to shoot some videos and hang out.
That'd be
awesome. All right, when's the move happening? Is this
hopefully? God, it's supposed to already happen. So hopefully in the next 3 to 4 months, we can actually like physically start moving stuff.
Nice.
It's right now we're in kind of limbo, so we're waiting for, you know, government stuff to go through, just like always. Once that's done, which should be soon, we can start building out and do stuff, because we don't require much like in a building. Like, you know, we could produce in, you know, a big empty warehouse. That's fine. That's kind of what I like anyways. But, you know, you need offices. I have enough employees where I'm bound by, like, I need lunchroom and, you know, proper bathroom and stuff like that and all that good stuff. So we got to build all that out. And once that's built, we can move and start setting up proper production lines, which is pretty much what Ecotech just had a walkthrough of their facility.
Yeah.
Pretty much us. I mean, we're just like, you know, we don't use the 80/20 system because we're not Ecotech, and that's crazy. But we have lines of, you know, of people working. Our tables are sometimes a lot bigger just because of the work we do. You know, we use 4x8 desks sometimes and stuff like that. And, you know, we jigs everywhere and stuff. It's the same thing.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm excited to see the new shop, because like your current one amazes me, so the new one's gonna be pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know. And we get to fit more tools inside, which is cool. More equipment. I like equipment. I like tools and equipment. So
what's the
second
tool
I got
wish
more
list?
room, I'm buying more equipment.
Okay,
sure.
You have water cutters, laser cutters, CNC. Like, what do you not have that you want?
There's definitely a million things I want. I want like huge flatbed printers. So there's printers now that can print 3D, like digital printers though. Yeah. So I want to mess with that stuff. So to mess with it properly, you got to own one. You can't really go to anybody and try to explain their crazy. You know, go to someone and be like, okay, this is what I want. It's for a fish tank. Okay, that's the first hurdle. Most people just hang up on you. What do you have, a fish tank? What?
You're crazy, Click.
So I find that you just need to just own the stuff. So, you know, when we originally went down the path of skimmers, we actually acquired a molding company to pull acrylic and to do acrylic bodies. And that's cool. Before the you know, the combination of RLSS and us. We were going to mold and pull every single one of our own bodies. We even had molds done. The molds cost too much, so we ended up pulling a mold company under our brand. So we could, you know, I could just be like, instead of molds costing me, you know, $1 bajillion, I'd be like, hey, make this mold, and at least it's not costing me tens of thousands of dollars to, you know, goof around on. And then we ended up working really close to RLSS. They had existing molds, really sweet bodies we loved. It's like, well, why are we pulling and making this same exact like shape? Yeah. When we originally started, we had like it was crazy. We had like great shapes. It like, oh, we would make a pyramid. It's gonna be awesome. It'd be like the first pyramid skimmer. It's like, oh no, that doesn't work at all. It's like, okay, we'll make like some upside down like square with a rectangle attached to it. Like, oh, we're gonna revolutionize everything. We're $1 million project.
Like with your kids' play blocks. Yes, that could be a skimmer.
Yeah, we would build it and then be like, we would just sit all around the table looking at it like this, be like, man, no one's gonna buy this. I wouldn't buy this. No one's gonna buy this. So then, you know, by the time we went like full circle over like 9 months, we were back to like the wine shape ball. It's like, okay, you know, certain things you have to keep. If you it's like troubleshooting like a computer. If something's broken in your computer, you don't know what it is, and you take everything out, you still don't know what it is. So you troubleshoot a computer, it's like, you know, if it won't like post, or it's posting weird, you like take out the graphics card, see if the PCI slot is dead. If that's not dead, then you pull out like one RAM stick and you check each like DIMM slot, and you know what I mean? That's how you troubleshoot.
Ironically, with your example, my NAS died this morning.
Oh, really?
And I literally had to take it apart to figure out what it is. And I think it's just like this like 30-cent transistor that I got to replace on it. But I'm like,
that's usually what it is. Almost all the time, that's what it is.
literally this morning, I was like
Yep.
trying to troubleshoot why I can't get to all my storage. I'm like,
Yeah.
no.
Is that a QNAP? That looks like a QNAP.
Phenology.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's how you troubleshoot a computer, just like you did. I mean, so we looked at the skimmer the same way. It's like, well, if we change everything, you know, everybody's going to look at this and just be like, you know, who are these people? No, like, you know, all these big companies, Reef Octo, all these have like, you know, they have brand power last like 15 years, 20 years. Yep. You know, no one's going to go that crazy. So we tried to be very strategic in what we wanted to change. We knew we wanted DC pump. So, you know, the DC CCHA was like a no-brainer. And when I called CCHA, I was talking to them direct in Italy and in the US, and they were game. They're like, absolutely, this is a great idea. That, you know, we'll send you some pumps. And this was months and months ago. So it's like, okay, that's cool. And then, you know, we stuck with the wine bottle shape and cycling. And then I was talking to Ryan and with the neck. And so it's like, okay, we can do that for sure because that's not too crazy. And then, you know, we through the round table, we're like, okay, we really want people to post on like Reef to Reef and stuff, how these things are tuned, how are they reacting. And then maybe we can also try to recreate certain things in our test lab or whatever of, you know, what's out in the real world. So that's where we decided to put the gauge on there, the leader gauge, the air leader gauge and stuff like that. And then, you know, those simple things that seem really simple ended up opening a can of worms of, you know, when we first did the needle valve and stuff like that, the skimmer was super loud. So then we had to come up with some like crazy way to make it actually like quiet. Yep. And then with the neck inserts, acrylic tube is the variance is insane. It's just insane. So we had to figure all that out and do all that. So once we got there, we were pretty happy. We were there probably, I don't know, probably 4 months ago. But again, with everything going on and with the amount of products that we have and us expanding as fast as we are, we really wanted to step back and say, okay, just wait. So now we're finally at the point of, you know, having it at CCHA's booth saying, okay, we actually make, we're making skimmers. So we make a 6-inch and 8-inch version. And, you know, we will be starting soon. I mean, we've already started jigging and stuff like that, you know, as of this week. So
nice.
Yeah,
so it's production's coming.
Yeah, it's coming for sure.
That was pretty cool. No, so I know since it's probably a few months before it's actually for sale, but like you said, you had the 6-inch and the 8-inch neck. I think you said.
Yeah, so we have a 6-inch body and an 8-inch body.
Okay.
So we wanted to like not release like 10, 20 skimmers. Like you know, the 6-inch most likely fits almost everybody's tank. The 8-inch is for bigger tanks. And then we also have a 12-inch and a 5-inch body, but the 5-inch was really small, and there's just no point. And then the 12-inch is absolutely massive. We can build it, but it will end up being like, you know, a $1,200, $1,300 skimmer, and then, you know what I mean? It can't even use the CCHA 1200. It needs the bigger one, and that pump alone is like $400. So it's like, you know, for like the 10 that we'd make, it's just not worth it yet.
That's fair. It's like a wholesale city or something like super huge tank. So I mean, it's pretty limited market towards like compared to the standard ones. That makes sense. And then so with the interchangeable neck, so if you have a smaller tank, basically smaller neck, bigger tank, you want more foam, bigger neck.
Actually, no, because how a skimmer works is on bioload. So you can have a massive tank with a tiny skimmer as long as you bioload. It removes dissolved organics. Yeah. If you have no dissolved organics, it doesn't matter if you have 10,000 gallons. You have no dissolved organics. The only way that a bigger skimmer would change that is the amount of water it's circulating, not from how much dissolved junk it's removing. I mean, you can have, you know, a 600-gallon tank with one fish in it. Well, okay, well, if you have, you know, a 4-inch skimmer and it's jamming, you know, 5 times the water volume through it every 2 hours, okay, that would work perfectly fine. So the idea behind it wasn't really, you know, the skimmer neck equals to the size of your tank, it equals your bioload. Like, you know, when you first set up a tank, usually you're supposed to have, you know, some live rock, a couple corals, and, you know, some fish. and I mean, you know, you've set up enough tanks, you've kept enough tanks. As a tank's lifespan grows, you know, you run into like old tank syndrome. You run into a bunch of growth, old fish. The fish get bigger. I mean, you know, I bought my blue hippo at this. Now he's like this, and he's like, you know, that wide, and he eats 5 times as much. So the idea isn't on water volume or anything like that. It's completely on bio load. So when I set up my tank, it's the water box 100.4, I think, is the thing, the 100 gallon. It has our 6-inch skimmer in it, but it started with that neck size. And then as the tank filled up, I took that out and ended up with that. Now the tank's been up for a long time. I have growth. I have a ton. I like soft coral, so I got tons of softies in there. I got probably 8 or 12 fish now. I got antheids I got to feed all the time and stuff like that. So now it's at its full 6-inch skimmer size. You know what I mean? So it just went on bio load. It had nothing to do
with size.
The size of my tank. The size never changed. What changes is what you put in it, and especially as a tank ages, it changes. You can't help it. The whole point of the hobby is to buy cool stuff and jam it in your tank. So, you know, true. And usually it happens, especially growth. Coral grows slow. Fish grow slow. It doesn't, you know, sometimes when you don't watch your tank, it seems like, oh my God, it grew overnight. But no, it's a very slow and steady hobby. So the skimmer really should grow slowly with your tank. It just should. When I was talking to Ryan about it, and when we were thinking about it and brainstorming stuff, like, well, that kind of makes total sense. Like, okay, when I started my tank, it had no bio. And then with them as well, you know, again, people like really dry skimming. People like really wet skimming. Who am I to tell them what works for them? Who are you going to argue with? Because you see people with massive SPS tanks are like, oh, wet skimmate only. Then you see a guy down the street with, you know, massive SPS tank. He's all dry skim only. It's like, whatever. I mean, whatever works for you. So why me as a manufacturer should decide that for people in the hobby? I'll just give you the tools and you decide.
Yeah, that's fair.
The idea.
What do you use since you're on it? The wetter or the dryer?
Right now, I use about a mid. Because I run a softy tank. So I'm on the drier side, mostly because I don't want to empty my skimmer cup all the time. And
that's what I do too, so okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a crazy bio load, but it's a softy tank mostly, so it can be dirty, to be honest with you. It's another thing. Fair. Softy tanks can be dirty. They can't. I mean, they don't need softy tanks should be dirty, to be honest with you. They do better. A lot of soft corals do better. Again, this could be argued. You know, who knows? I'll probably get, you know, killed online. But in my most experience is that, you know, softy tanks do really well when they're half neglected. To be 100% honest with you, mushrooms just seem to go everywhere. If you just never look at your frag tank for 2 months, you go back there and like, wow, I have like 30 mushrooms. I thought I put 3 in. What happened?
They like the dirty neglect. Not neglect, but like. More nutrient-rich water is a better way of saying
exactly.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just not a big. I like SPS and whatnot, but my life's crazy enough, and the ability to keep SPS sometimes is just some of it. No, especially sticks. Just no, I don't have the time. I like softies.
Yeah, there's. Do you know what's funny too? I find like. Any person that's not a hardcore reefer too, when they come in, everyone's straight to the flowy things, right? Everyone likes the movement. Everyone loves it. So it's like the crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Okay. DC Reefer, does 3D printing, does it influence him to use 3D printing into creations? Do you 3D print and prototype a lot of stuff on the 3D printer?
We do. So we bought this massive 3D printer. Never use it. We have a bunch of small printers. We never use it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with 3D printing products, prototyping, but when you have CNCs and you have it cost effective, time effective for me is different than the average company. I can take a sheet of 2-inch acrylic and mill something out and waste 4 days on it. yeah, I'm
Yeah.
paying for the time anyway. It's my machine,
Mm-hmm.
my acrylic that I already have. So for me, 3D printing just has never really fit anything I needed. Everything I wanted was either millable or made. But I also like we use injection molded parts, like our bodies. We absolutely use them, but I try my best to stay away from injection molding. I don't like how much it can't change, and I don't like injection molding that much just because of the cost involved. So
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with 3D printing. There's a bunch of products sold that are amazing 3D printed and stuff. It's like you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
mill that. There, economically, as 3D printing works. But for me, no, I just end up making it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
No,
I just not a big fan.
that makes sense. It takes a long time to make stuff too, comparative to just CNC. It is much quicker.
Yeah, and like when we were doing our switch boxes, Harry's original switch box was all 3D
Yep.
printed. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with 3D printing, but
Yeah.
we ended up like gluing up a solid acrylic box that's heavy,
Has
that
that fit and
feels
finish to it.
nice. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know if I'm spending like $80, I really don't want something that's 3D printed. But that's me. Like again,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it. Like VCA
Yep.
makes really cool, like 98% of what he does, you literally can't mold, you
Yeah.
can't mill,
It's too
you
unique
have
with
to
the
3D
inside
print it. Yeah,
spirals and
there
stuff.
was really almost no other way.
Mm-hmm.
And his quality is really good on his prints and stuff. So
Yep.
okay, that's fine. But for certain things, it's just not. It's just not me.
Yeah.
But
Well,
again,
especially boxes and flat
yeah,
things. It's so easy to do it out of acrylic and so much more efficient. So makes sense.
yeah. But also, like, I come from the CNC world. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what, when I was 17, 16, I was in a shop with CNC routers, not
Yeah.
3D printers. So if I was, 17, 16 in a shop full of 3D printers, I may think completely different. It's just what I know, what
Yeah.
I see, and how I look at things. You know what I mean? So that
Mm-hmm.
could be it too. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, question, Tracy. Thank you for the super chat. What would it take to get adapters for existing skimmers to make them recirculating for CO2 scrubbers? So, a nice universal add-on could be a good new product
Yes
for you.
and no. So there'd be a lot of phone calls first to a lot of companies saying, "Hey, can I make this?"
Yeah.
Because it's their product, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
just go out and
Make
make
accessories.
adapter for their product. Most people can because they'll sell it on their site.
Mm-hmm.
But if I release a product, it's being sold on saltwateraquarium.com, Bulk Reef Supply, and like DeJong Marine Life, and like big companies. Like,
Yeah.
you can't just go there and make a logo.
Mm-hmm.
Doing this logo wasn't as easy as like, hey, let's put Neptune's logo on something and sell it. It's not
Yeah.
that easy.
Here
There
comes
was
the
a lot of
lawsuits.
phone calls. There was a
Yeah.
lot of like emails, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of talking to owners of these companies being like, hey, this is exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Are you cool?
That
Like,
makes sense.
legally speaking, are you okay with me doing this?
Yep.
What is off limits? What's on limits? What
Mm-hmm.
can I do? So to make a recirculating thing that plugs on to like even like a Reef Octo skimmer and NIOS skimmer, there would be not only designing the product, building the product, but then going to these companies and being like, hey, can I make this? And these companies not being not cool, but they have the full right of saying no.
Yeah.
First off, we don't know what your product will do to, our customer service. What if someone
Mm-hmm.
puts this on, a Reef Octo skimmer and instantly, it, starts overflowing and floods someone's house? Well, whose problem is that? Is that
Yeah.
Reef Octo's problem? Is that Adaptive Reef's problem? Is that Bulk Reef Supply's problem that sells it?
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to the level of selling products that, Adaptive's at, where we're like, we're pretty much a global brand, you can't really just say, hey, I'm going to make this. There's a lot of back end stuff before. So the
Mm-hmm.
answer right now is no. I think CoralView has a reactor that already does CO2 scrubbing. So
Yeah.
that thing's really cool. But I mean, that's pretty much what we would have to come up with. We couldn't
Mm-hmm.
make something that physically attached to the skimmer. There'd be too much liability. Not saying it would never happen, but at this point, it would be low on the priority list.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a ton of hoopla that you wouldn't normally think of, but yeah, there's a ton of logistically hurdles and
like a lot. There's a lot of paperwork, contracts, NDAs. There's a lot to develop a product with someone's name on it. It helps that, you know, I'm lucky enough to have friends, I guess, in high places. So, you know, a lot of it is just like a phone call, like, you know, hey, can I do this? What do you think? It sounds really cool, doesn't it? Let's just do it. Come on, guys. You know,
trust me, it'll be awesome.
There's always more to it than anybody could ever imagine when it comes to business and selling products, especially when it includes other brands that your brand has nothing to do with. Like, you know, and we tried to, and especially me with Adaptive, try to be like the cool kids. You know, we'll work with anybody. We'll do our best not to step on anybody's toes. We just really want to make really cool stuff. Like legitimately, full stop. I want to make cool stuff. We're going to make cool stuff. That's it. There's no nefarious, you know, reason behind it.
Yeah, I promise my intentions are pure. I just want to make cool stuff.
They are. I mean, in the end, you know, we're a company. We make money. I mean, obviously, I have over 20-something employees already, and we'll probably be 50-something employees within the next year. So, yeah, we make money. We're profitable. We do well, but, you know, we spend a ton of money on customer service. I mean, that's buried in our costs for sure, but I want no hassle customer service, straight up. Like, that's awesome. No-brainer for me. So that has to be paid for. And, you know, the expanding and everything like that. So, you know, I'm not gonna lie, we make money, we do cool stuff and all that. But in the end, like, this all started for me I really just want to make cool stuff. Adaptive wants to make cool stuff.
I love it.
And yeah, it's just that's like the number one, like, you know, thing on our door. Let's make cool stuff. If you think it's cool, I don't care if it's for, you know, freshwater, if it's for, you know, lizards or for, you know, saltwater. If that seems cool to us, yeah, we'll make it. Like, why not? Let's try it. I mean, it's the worst that could happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Throw a bit of time at it and see what happens. Oh, that's super cool. Love it, man. Tons of cool stuff in the works. Well, I won't keep you all night, but I appreciate you coming on today. It's been a while since we've chatted, so.
No, thank you. It was awesome being on again.
Awesome, man. Yeah, when you got some more cool stuff coming, let me know. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, hopefully by the end of this year, we have some really cool stuff and more announcements and all that good stuff.
Okay, awesome. Sneak me some photos as they're coming.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you again, Kyle, and thanks everyone for hanging out tonight. Tracy, Bob, John, Battles here. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. So if you guys enjoyed it, as always, hit that like button, and we'll catch you guys on next week's live stream.